Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Today, we are looking at whether or not it is worth it to buy the first card of the new Amazing Spider season, that is Silver Sable. Silver Sable will be the spotlight card at shop turnover, along with two other cards, Mockingbird and US Agent. We're going to look at all three, decks for all three, a review of all three, and so much more during this video, including giveaway winners. So make sure you stick around if you entered to win one of these season passes that we're giving away right now. We're going to begin, though, with our last chance review of Emperor Hulkling, who is a 6/11. At the start of the game, copy the text of a random 6-cost card. Do not buy Emperor Hulkling. This is a exceedingly mediocre card. As a Series 4 card, this card is probably not worth your tokens or spotlight caches. It has a couple of fine homes. It's okay in some arishem lists. It's okay in some Wiccan lists as a big stuff card. But generally speaking, this is a card that is too inconsistent. There are too many bad hits in too many situations for this to be worthwhile. My favorite home, the only home where I feel he might be irreplaceable, is a Phoenix Force deck, but even there are numerous other really great cards that mean you do not need to run Emperor Hulkling. However, we're going to take a look at one quick Emperor Hulkling deck that I think is pretty cool. I'm going to be honest, we looked at a better version of this deck yesterday that did not run Emperor Hulkling. One of the main reasons yesterday's version of the deck was so much better was that it, in fact, does not bother with the Emperor Hulkling. Emperor Hulkling is not a great card. What is Emperor Hulkling doing in this list, you might be wondering? Well, Mockingbird, Sasquatch, and Scar are all exceedingly powerful cards that cost 6 for this deck. If Emperor Hulkling copies any of those, and again, you've got like a 3 in 30 chance of that happening, right? So a 10%-ish chance of that happening. If that does happen, though, you've got an extra very powerful card that can help you win the game. That's it. That's what Hulkling's here for. Outside of that, he is, generally speaking, a bad card. You don't necessarily really want any of these other cards that he can become, because your goal on the last turn of the game is to play Scar and another card. However, if you did get Wiccan out, that Scar could be 2, and then you will have 8 energy, which means you can go Emperor Hulkling, for example, for a Doctor Doom with a Scar, which could be game-winning. Again, it's got some utility here, but it is not an exceedingly powerful card. This deck comes from our friend Phil J. Woodward, who you can find on Twitter. For this list, Hulkling can be Magneto or Iron Man just fine. You lose a bit that way, but nothing terrible. Iron Man is absolutely kind of OP here, where if you do get that cheap Hulkling to end the game, and you can play that with another card, Iron Man just pushes you way over the top. Magneto on turn 5 to clog something still makes that Scar cheaper and works perfectly well as well. Kitty Pryde here can be Psylocke. That is a perfectly fine change. Again, that gives you a lot of the cheaty stuff that you're doing that we'll talk about on the next slide. The rest of the high series cards are unfortunately needed. This is just a very expensive deck. You could technically, as of fairly recently, replace Cull Obsidian if you felt like you had to for a Tuma, but I think that's significantly worse in this list. You don't really want to be blowing up your Kitty Prydes and Zabus of the world. Alright, so this is a really fun list. Again, I think genuinely yesterday, one of the best decks in the game is very similar to this, and we took a look at that, so I generally suggest you play that, but if you have Hulkling and are looking for something, this is a good place to go. Turn 1, you play Quicksilver. Turn 2, you Zabu if you can go Wiccan, Cull, or Crossbones. And you can fairly always Cull here because you've got Quicksilver as your turn 1 play. But Zabu, if you can get any of those 3 out, is just what you do there. Kate, if you need a 1, i.e. you don't have Zabu, or a 4. Kate, if you're going to need a 1 because you're going to go 2+1 on turn 3. And if you don't need any of that stuff, let's say you have Kitty Pryde, then you're just going to drop Mysterio. Mysterio can lead to a turn 3 Sasquatch, which is a really great play. You would still rather, generally speaking, get Wiccan out on turn 3, although you would rather have Sasquatch than the Cull or Crossbones if given the choice. You can also just do a 2+1, then go turn 4 into Wiccan, Cull, or Crossbones. The other play that's really great here is Mysterio and Zabu. That will help make everything cheap enough. That'll give you a Mockingbird or Sasquatch with one of your... that'll give you a Sasquatch for 2, which will allow it to be played with Cull or Crossbones. That can also lead to a 3-cost Mockingbird and a 2-cost Sasquatch, which is 5 energy, which is, again, really, really powerful at this point in the game. You can also, and then you end the game by going Scar and Hulkling, or Scar and sort of whatever other big stuff you can. and you just put a million 10 power things on the board. Even if they have one Shang-Chi, that's usually not enough, and you can go tall enough to sort of take over the game. That's it. It's really simple, very powerful, very effective. Please do check this deck out if you're interested in a really fun home for Hulkling, and you have Wiccan. If you have Hulkling and not Wiccan, I've got to ask some questions about what you're doing with your spotlight keys. So ideally, if you have Emperor Hulkling, you have most of these other cards, because literally every other high series card in this deck is a better card than Emperor Hulkling, except perhaps Zabu, and Zabu is completely replaceable here by Psylocke. So you'll be fine if you need to make that change as well. All good? All right. Please hit that sub button if you're willing. We're trying to hit 15,000 subs by the end of the year. We just hit 13,000, so we need your support if we're going to get there. Literally right below me, you'll see a little red button. That little red button is a sub button. If you hit it, you're helping us grow. We give you 7 days a week of great Marvel Snap content, 6 days a week of brand new decks that you can't find anywhere else, faster than you can get them anywhere else, that are top of the meta decks that are proven and successful. In addition to all those decks, the other day, the 7th day of the week, we do a giant podcast. This week we had the great Regis Kilbin and Spider Jess on. So if you're interested, please do hit that sub button. I don't think you'll regret it. We have more top quality content than anyone. All right, season pass giveaway. We give away about 15 season passes a season. I think we're giving away 18 this season, which is a fairly insane number. All right, ready? Season passes. We have 2 we're giving away later this video. There were 3 that were announced in yesterday's video. A comment on any video this week, starting today, going to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So going to next Sunday, I guess, because Saturday is the podcast, and that's a different thing. So a comment, as long as you're subbed, is an entry to win a season pass. I'll pull a season pass winner from the comments of each video. So if you're interested, make sure you're subbed, and make sure you're commenting on the videos. Later on this video, I'll ask a question, and when you answer that, you'll be entered to win a season pass. Y'all good? That makes sense to everybody? Hopefully. If it doesn't, do let me know in the comments, please. Also, I just realized I really, really like the hoodie card back. I am definitely excited for that. All right. Oh, sorry, one last thing before we go forward to Silver Sable. If you're interested in a review of Symbiote Spider-Man, I did that on the channel on Sunday. I also did a full Spotlight guide to every Spotlight this month with decks for every single card coming out this month on Sunday, so make sure you check that out if that's something you're interested in as well. Alright, finally, Silver Sable is the card that comes out today. As you are watching this, I am teaching some children. Kids come back today. Silver Sable is a 1/1 Series 5 6,000 tokens. On reveal, steal 2 power from the top card of your opponent's deck. Upon first look, I thought this sucked. I was like, oh great, a 1/3. But upon further examination, I think Silver Sable is going to be a really, really good card, but a really, really good card in one particular archetype. We'll get to that shortly, but first, let's take a look at what the spotlights are for this week. Then we're going to look at Sable's variants. So the Spotlight Sable, I think, is pretty good. I don't like it significantly more than the main one, but it is a decent variant. Then we've got Mockingbird with this really, really nice variant. This one's very blue, but it's really pretty. And then a U.S. agent apparently saving a police officer, which is really, really appropriate for right-wing Captain America. So, look, we're going to review U.S. Agent and Mockingbird later, but Mockingbird's one of the 5 best cards in the game, and you should make sure you have Mockingbird. Sable is really good in one type of deck, and U.S. Agent's a card a lot of people have wanted, but didn't get because he was buffed after the last time he was in Spotlight Caches, which was also the first time he was in Spotlight Caches. So this is going to be a week a lot of people are looking at opening, and if you're looking at getting some variants, these are also seemingly really nice variants. Silver Sable has 3 variants. 2 are coming this month, I believe. The middle and the right one. There's no word on when the Pixel is coming, but hey, as far as Pixels go, that's a pretty decent one. I actually like both of these. I'm probably going to buy both of these variants. I actually like them more than the Spotlight. The Rion one in particular, I think, is really, really sweet. So I'm very excited to get these Silver Sable variants and get them going. The kind of blue cool background is why I really like the middle one, but these are the variants. Some people decide what to buy based on aesthetic value, and if you're the type of person who does so, this is what you're deciding based on. Cool? Alright, so this is a 1/3 on play, but if the opponent plays the card that it hit without Luke, it's fundamentally a 1/5. You play a 1/5, right? Like, I play a 1/5. I run Hydra Bob sometimes. This basically replaces Hydra Bob in a bunch of random decks. That's not a synergy thing, though, so we're not going to look at all those decks. Basically, anytime that you're in the market for just a 1, this is going to be something to consider. if you can replay this once, right? You could bounce it with Beast or Falcon, you can hit it with Grandmaster. If you can replay this once, it's a 1/5 to 1/9. That's pretty damn good, right? Like, if this is a 1/5 to 1/9, that's amazing. 1/9 is just top line stats. There's not a single one in Marvel Snap that, without a lot of extra help, gets to 1/9, and Silver Sable is perfectly capable of doing so. If they choose not to play the card, you still got a 1/3, 1/5 with that bounce, and this has now fundamentally become Spider-Ham. You basically said, I've got a 1/3, 1/5 Spider-Ham. It's just basically trapping cards without abilities in hand. So that's pretty good. So since you so badly want to replay this card, that makes its home Bounce or Dex with Grandmaster. It's probably not going to be a Wong card. If you Wong it, you're like going to get rid of a lot of power on one card, but that doesn't really seem worth it. You're much more likely to just play this in Bounce and try and get multiple uses out of it, saying that each use is extremely strong. You're fine sticking this in a lot of decks, though, as a 1/3, because a lot of the meta is just really annoyed by losing 2 power. If you hit, for example, a card I expect to be in the meta because it's Symbiote Spider-Man, a Black Panther, right? That Black Panther is now going from a 2 to a 4, and all the other triggers are so much less power that you're now going to be able to compete. If you hit a Brood, they now have 3/0 Broodlings. If you hit a Iron Man, that's -4 power on Iron Man. If you hit a Deadpool, it is now a -1 power card, and doubling that just makes it -3, I believe. That should be how it works, right? Or no, doubling that's just going to be -1 forever. It's not going to ever go up. Same thing for Human Torch, which should be in the meta once Move is there. All of this makes this seem like a card we really might just want to look at as a card that we stick in decks as one-ofs. However, the deck that it actually has synergy in is the one we're going to look at here, and that is Bounce. So let's do another full deck guide of a Bounce deck. Geo's Supreme Bounce, in fact. Geo keeps sending this to me and insisting this is where I want to be for Bounce, and he's the best Bounce player I've ever met. Geo is the best Bounce player in the world. He's won major tournaments with Bounce. He's come #1 on the Infinite Leaderboard with Bounce. He's an Italian player, absolutely stellar player. And if he's that insistent that Bounce is that good with this build, then it is 100% worth checking out. This is a Wiccan Bounce list. I'm going to tell you right freaking now, I think this list should run Iron Man over something, probably over Shang-Chi. I stuck Silver Sable in over Spider-Ham because, again, I think Silver Sable is just sort of like better Spider-Ham a lot of the time. This Silver Sable here is, you've got the Falcon, the Beast, and the Grandmaster. So you can potentially get Silver Sable to a 1/5, 1/7, 1/3 on one play, Falcon at 1/5, Beast at 1/7, Grandmaster at 1/9, and that's without even taking into account the -2 on the other cards. That seems like it's probably silly strong in this type of deck. That is about the same power as 2 Rocket triggers, but Rocket requires a lot more luck to make happen. This just seems like it's going to be really good. So this is Geo Supreme Bounce. I think that this is going to be where I'm planning on starting for Silver Sable. This is the deck that is planning to use the card as more than just a decent stat stick. Cool. All right, you can find .geo at twitter.com/.geo if you're interested. .geo doesn't have any, he has a Twitch, but he like never streams. All right, Hulkling can be Magneto or Iron Man. Ooh, what the hell? Ignore those. Those are not the right replacements for this. Do I have the right turn by turns? All right, I do have the right turn by turns. Cool. So, ready? Turn by turn for this list. I don't know what the hell I was thinking for replacements. Nico Minoru can be Spider-Ham or Iceman. Those are the only 2 changes. Grandmaster is nice, but not terribly important here. Feel free to replace that with any 2. I am partial to Shadow King. Shadow King is fairly significantly worse, but still pretty damn solid here. You can also try something like a White Widow or Baron Mordo. You're going to need Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop is absolutely incredible in every Wiccan deck, and making sure you have a 1-drop to play with a 2-drop in order to get to Wiccan. Sage and Werewolf are both required cards. Let's see what the Black Swan change looks like, because Black Swan is potentially a replacement for either Sage or Grandmaster here, depending on what that is. And some people might have Black Swan, some people might not. Black Swan is a card I wouldn't have suggested you open caches for, but since the season passed, more people have it. Black Swan is going to become Activate, seemingly, today. Who knows? Question mark. So if you're actually curious about a Black Swan review, I did that a couple days ago on the same video that I talked about Symbiote Spider-Man. But Black Swan is potentially a Sage replacement as just a way to sort of cheat in this list. I think Iron Man is another possible change for this list. Wiccan is a requirement for this list, again, unless Black Swan is able to replace Wiccan. Do not play this without Werewolf by Night. Basically, you're trying to win off the back of Werewolf, generally speaking. Sage is a decent backup plan. And then you've got a decent-sized Rocket Raccoon, Demons, and Silver Sable to steal another lane. That is your goal. That's how you're trying to win here. And then you're just trying to replay them and abuse them to the point where your opponents can't stop you. That's what the Grandmaster Falcon and Beast are. All good? All good. All right, the question is going to be, do you think there are any other homes that are like actually really great for Silver Sable that aren't bounce? Obviously, Monkey Bounce is the same concept as this bounce. That's not what we're talking about. Are there any homes that are not Werewolf or Monkey, basic bounce decks for Silver Sable that you think she's more than just a good card? Are there any other decks where you consider this a synergy piece? Yes, no, why, and what does that do to how bad you want her? Cool. All right, so the Bounce Goats deck is turn 1, Hood, if you don't have a 2-drop, is better than Silver Sable, is better than basically anything else. Turn 2 is Cape Bishop, if you have hand space and need to, is better than 2 1s, is better than Grandmaster on Sable or Hood. Grandmaster on Hood is not a terrible play early, by the way. Just at that point, if you Grandmaster Hood, right, you've still paid 1, so you've got 1, and then you've got 12 more power, so that's 9 net power on your side of the board. It's pretty damn good. Turn 3, Werewolf is your priority. You basically, as long as locations aren't miserable, you basically always Werewolf. That's better than Sage, which is better than Beast. And if you can Beast that Grandmaster, that's often great, because then you can replay stuff middle and then play Grandmaster on Beast to rebounce all that stuff too. It's really, really strong. Turn 4 is Wiccan, or it's meant to be Wiccan. And turn 5, if you don't have that, you're just trying to bounce stuff. Turn 5 is Replay to get set up with Sage or Shang. This is also your bounce turn if you've Wiccaned, obviously. And then turn 6 is Shang or Sage and moving the wolf around. That's how you win. It's really straightforward. This is about as simple as a bounce deck gets once you get the hang of Grandmaster. Grandmaster requires you to basically spend a lot of your early turns playing to the corners of the board and not the center of the board, and trying to keep one on reveal in each corner of the board so you can decide what you want. But once you get the hang of that, this is a relatively straightforward list because Wiccan gives you so much energy that a lot of the harder decisions of bounce end up really not mattering as much. So I strongly suggest this type of bounce list if you're trying to learn the archetype. Again, this is where I think Silver Sable's home is, and your big Silver Sable question of the day is, do you think there's any non-bounce decks where Silver Sable is more than just a regular old good card? Because I can see her just, if the meta is all about scalers, being like, well, hitting a -2 sometimes is just going to win my game. So I'm going to run that 1-3 that's sort of a 1-5 that occasionally wins me a game, right? That's absolutely it. I can see her just being a card for that. But if she's more than that, I think it has to be a bounce deck. Do you? Cool. Let's keep going. So does Silver Sable look good? Almost every card they release is good. They've released 1 or 2 bad cards over the past several months. Hulkling is one very mediocre card, but even he's not bad. He's just super mediocre. Before that, it's hard to even remember the last bad. Oh, Phastos is the last bad card. So they very rarely release bad cards. I plan to put this in almost every bounce deck, I think. I think this is going to be great in bounce. It's hard for me to imagine this not being an amazing bounce card. It's possible, though, that this is bad, and I'm just wrong, and that bounce isn't meta at all. And because of these two things, we have the rule of Thursday, Friday, and Monday. This is not a special Monday. The previous Monday was a special Monday. Ready for the rule of Thursday, Friday, Monday? The rule of Thursday is, on Thursday's video, I will ask a bunch of top 10 to top 20 players, and then major content creators, major deck builders, what they think of this card. What are the first impressions of this, and also what are the first impressions of Symbiote Spider-Man, and I will report out to you. In Friday's video, I will synthesize that information for weekend missions and look at the stats for the card, and combining those two things, I will then give you a recommendation about whether to buy it. Then on Monday, because weekend missions will have a far larger sample, I will do a final last chance review. All good? So as always, wait until at least Friday to buy unless you need one of the other cards, which is what we're going to look at momentarily. But first, I need to tell you about the stream team. because we don't do gameplay here on the channel, but if you'd like gameplay from these decks, these are the streamers to check out. Today is Tuesday, so the great Prashaun will be streaming at 12 Eastern. You have to check out Gregor2424's video. He had like a 65% win rate with that deck we talked about at the beginning of the video from yesterday's video, and you should totally check it out because that deck is wild. All good? All right. We're also going to do a couple quick bundle reviews. In your shop, you've got these two bundles. In your, web store shop, you've got these two bundles. It is the Dead by Dawn and the Seeing Double bundles. These are going until September 4th, so you've only got a little bit of time left to grab them. But these bundles are absolutely stellar. 235% progress value is about must buy. You can buy them both. These are also both, just for the record, both variants in the Luca Claretti album. So you're getting two album variants. You're getting a ton of progression value. It's been a really long time since we've seen value this good in the in-game shop. So if you have the money and are looking to spend any money on Marvel Snap, this Blade bundle at 235% progress is incredible. If you're looking for credits in gold, it's really balanced and really, really great. Meanwhile, this Mr. Sinister bundle is 235.1. Hey, they're exactly the same. And this one, is giving you a little bit more gold and a little less credits. Sorry, I had to double check in my brain. This one's giving you a little bit more gold, a little less credits. I'm telling you right now, I bought these immediately the second I saw that progression value. So generally speaking, what we're looking at is 170 is like the baseline of like, okay, you can buy this if you like the variants. 200 is very good. We're 30% greater than that at 235. You should be buying these bundles if you spend money on Marvel Snap. Cool. All right. The spotlight card, the star of the week, almost no matter how good Silver Sable is Mockingbird. Mockingbird is one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. The question I was going to ask you is, how many cards in Marvel Snap are better than Mockingbird? But I don't know if any are. I think Mockingbird is an S-tier card, like an S-tier of S-tier cards, if you don't have Mockingbird open this week. Mockingbird is a 6/10. She costs one less for each of your cards in play that did not start in your deck. And that means Squirrel Girl, that means Shauna, that means Mysterio, that means Kate Bishop, that means just incidental bullshit, that means your opponent's White Widow or junk cards. All of that makes this amazingly strong card far, far cheaper than she should be. Mockingbird is a must-have card. And now, before we talk about Mockingbird's decks, let's tell you our giveaway winners from Sunday's video are Forknuckle and Mr. Ball. Please reach out, Snap JudgeCast on Twitter, Snap Judgments Podcast at Gmail, or Pulse Glazer on Discord in order to claim your prize. All right, the first deck we're going to look at. Hey, this is the deck that Gregor is playing today. It's Barzy's Token Idiots. This is, in my personal opinion, the best deck in Marvel Snap. I've got a 65% win rate with it. Barzy, current rank 2 player, has a 65% win rate with it. Who else? I do. Barzy does. Gnome, chilling in the top 30, 65% win rate. Gregor, 65% win rate. FaThorNewman has a video of this deck up, 65%, 67% win rate, something like that. This is the best deck in Marvel Snap. In my opinion, you should play it. And no, you don't need Marvel Boy. Check yesterday's video if you want card replacements for this. But Mockingbird is a required card, and if you have Mockingbird, you can play this list. Next up, we have Itzkus Gaming's Infinite List. Again, another amazing home that we covered in yesterday's video. Again, just for the record, for Mockingbird. Squirrel Girl and Shauna make your Mockingbird real cheap. That's a one-cost Mockingbird if you play both of those cards. Seems like a 110 is a little ahead of curve, right? This card is incredible. KR will also protect it in this list in particular, so it's not even shonkable. Just through the roof power. This card's stupid. It's so good. Cool. We get it. Mockingbird's amazing. Where else can we play Mockingbird? Well, here's a standard-ass arishem list. In this very, very standard arishem list, Mockingbird is great. Who'd have thought? It generates a bunch of cards, right? Those generated cards make Mockingbird cheaper. Or if you have it in hand and you Loki, those cards you play after you Loki can make it cheaper. Those Agent Coulson cards can make it cheaper. We get it? Mockingbird is insane. This is a must-own, must-have card. It goes in a million different shells. Oh, here's another. The list that's going to finish the season in the #1 spot, barring something completely insane. We'll do another full review of this one in tomorrow's video if you're looking for it. We did it last week. You can find it This is, you can find this number 1 deck here and only here thing. Yeah, this is the deck that's going to finish the season in number 1. It's got exactly 1 change in that list. I'm going to make you wait till tomorrow to find out what it is, though. But this is the list, and guess what? Mockingbird. Why is Mockingbird here? Because you have a demon, because you have Mysterio, because you have Hawkeye's arrows. I don't know how else to put this. This is the premium card in Marvel Snap's best decks. Get Mockingbird. Alright, our other spotlight card is US Agent. He's nowhere near as good. He's very good, but he's nowhere near as good. He's a 2/3 ongoing. 4, 5, and 6 plus cards have -4 power. That's a lot. He's very often plays for 211 or more. I don't know if you know a lot about Marvel Snap, but 211's a lot. He does restrict you, so he's often played with Luke Cage. I think Luke Cage is about to have a little renaissance, though, which is going to make him a little bit worse. We've got just enough cards coming out that are annoying that Luke Cage is really good. Again, number 1 deck, see Luke Cage there. And we've seen a lot of Ajax High Evolutionary, so I think, again, we're going to see more Luke, which is going to make US Agent a little worse. But if you're very close to collection complete, as I know a lot of my viewers are, literally there was a conversation happening on my Discord about this, and people that wanted, that would have liked to play US Agent, but US Agent was -3 when he was in Spotlights and -4 after, can go get that card now. That's a great deal, right? Like, you can just go get the card that you were missing along with the best card in the game. And, well, we talked about Silver Sable, right? All right, so the list we're going to talk about first is Komi's High Evo 2.0. We covered this in one of Sunday's videos. This is just a great US Agent list. This is the kind of thing we're talking about with High Evolutionary, why I think Luke is going to be back, because basically US Agent plays for 211 here, and then you just sort of eat when he hits your own cards, because that's just going to pump Ajax further. And, like, he's sort of just cheap Shang-Chi in a lot of ways in this list. This list is just everything that reduces power and telling your opponent to deal with it. Super, super strong. Like, really powerful, really frustrating stuff for many opponents. Then we have Buff Captain America. Hey, Buff Captain America, one of my favorite Twitch viewers. We hang out in a lot of the same streams all the time. Has US Agent in this other really cool sort of like little Loki list that is just all about taking away power. So we've got Luke to sort of counter Valentina, and then counter Luke Cage, and counter the Man Thing, and then you just say, I've got a lot more power than you, because I'm messing things up. And because you can get so much power early with all these cards, your Negasonic and Cosmo should be blowing stuff up. Very cool list. Huge props to Buff Captain America for coming up with this. And thanks to Nick the Greek Geek for telling me about this list, for calling this to my attention when I hadn't seen Buff. I was in Colombia when I hadn't seen Buff Captain America for a little bit. Next up, we've got Peralta MG's Speedy Spectrum. FaThorNewman made me aware of this list. Peralta MG is a wonderful Brazilian streamer who came up with an ongoing list that's actually performing really well. This is just a straight-up regular old ongoing list. US Agent doesn't hurt you, does hurt opponents. Luke is here just because so much of the meta is completely obnoxious for Luke. Plus, Luke will prevent the Lizard from going down to 1 power, which is just really awesome. Goose in one lane, US Agent in another is a problem for opponents, right? You've got basically saying, you can't get your stuff in here, and I can get all my stuff there. You can even do this behind Invisible Woman, so your opponent has no idea how much power they have in that lane, and then you just ruin their lives. Also, if you need to get power in US Agent lane and you don't have Luke, speed is often fairly big, and then if you claw in that lane, claw the extra power into that lane, that's really, really strong too. Lots of ways to do lots of really strong things with this list. Props to Peralta for coming up with just genuinely a very cool list. Alright, so should I open this week? Mockingbird is a must-have. If you don't have Mockingbird, just go open Mockingbird. If you want to play like all these decks, get Mockingbird. US Agent is great, but not a needed card. I think that this is a card that's really good and will occasionally be meta, but I don't think it's at the top of the meta. Silver Sable seems for all the world like a bounce-only card. And just again, a reminder, Thursday, Friday, and Monday's videos will have specific updates to Silver Sable. So, as always, wait until Friday. Unless you need Mockingbird, then please just feel free to open, because Mockingbird is silly, silly strong. It is one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. Questions of the day, and then we're out of here. So, Models asks if the value of Hulkling goes up if you're missing a lot of Series 4 and 5 cards. No. If you're missing a lot of Series 4 and 5 cards, you should be getting good cards, not bad cards that sort of make up for it. If you get Arishem, who's basically the first Series 5 card you should get, you've already got like a good version of what Hulkling does. Please don't spend your tokens on the card. Fat Nick wants to know how Second Dinner handles refunds is ethical. So I don't think it's especially their choice how they handle refunds here. Um, First and foremost, like if something in the game happens, right, and you need your money back, they will often give you the value in gold back. That's because most of their sales um, are handled through the third party clients, and they don't have the access to give that money back in that same way. Right? They would just be out the money because of the percentages that are handled by Google Play. You can seek a refund from like Google Play or from Apple Store, right? But apparently getting refunds from them is an entirely different uh, matter. I don't love that, but like it sort of is what it is. Um, I'm generally speaking fairly anti-corporation, but that just seems like sort of the cost of doing business in a very digital landscape that I'm fine with. The other big refund thing is that they don't refund cards when cards are nerfed. I'm also fine with that because I care much more about a healthy game than I do about getting a refund from a card. But also, I well out on the game. I recognize that there's people who can't afford to do that. I've said this before. I'm going to say this every time this comes up. I consider this game a $10 a month subscription service. I think if you're doing that and being intelligent, waiting till Friday, not opening Spotlight Caches unless you have 4, you're going to end up, and I know this is literally possible because I know a million people who've done this at this point in a fairly big community, you'll end up something like 10 cards, 11 cards from collection complete. You'll slowly get a little further away, then you'll catch up, then do a little further away, then you'll catch up based on luck, but that's fine. You'll have almost all the cards. So because of that, because I think you're meant to play this game as a $10 subscription service, I think the way they handle refunds as far as card goes is honestly better than the alternative where they can't nerf things because they can't afford to refund everything. And then finally, non-Marvel Snap related, the Great Mandatory Burnout asked what the last concert I went to was. I think the last concert I went to was The Offspring. I had to ask my wife that. I did not remember. When I go to concerts, I go to mostly like 90s alternative stuff from my youth. I'm going to see Pink with my wife next month. That's my wife concert. And then I think I'm going to see Shakira with my wife a couple months later. After The Offspring, which we had a nice time at, I always have a good time with my wife when we go to concerts. I realized that as much as I enjoy music, I don't especially enjoy the act of going to concerts, the driving a bunch far away, the waiting in line for parking, the millions of hours it takes to get the hell out of the concert venue because of the big lines and then the big parking lines, then stopping to pick up the kid and getting home while everyone's completely exhausted. I'm old and a little bit over that. So I don't really do concerts for myself anymore. I think the last I went to Offspring, and then like almost a year, like a year ago, and then like almost a year before that, I went to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I very rarely go to concerts now. That said, I'll always go anywhere my wife asks me to because I enjoy spending time with her. It's more or less it. Yeah. So that's where I land on concerts. Cool. All right. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with honor things. I'm going to go through this quickly because I, again, have to teach some children in the morning. I'd like to say thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, Air Regardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Juice Vault, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jane Every, Corwin, Prime Ryan, Ryan Burke, Kiertixley, Koire, Black Dahlia, Pyrofrost, The Goatseeker, Deadman Falcon, Red Brojo, the King of New Morrow Snapcard Content, Dr. Fat Nick, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, who's having a wonderful vacation, please. Aplo, Kenny Loggins, Of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Xrosv, and Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, who won Savage League Season 1, The King of Bros, Greg Kazoo, Jessica Campbell, Woody, Kevsey Hoda, Ludacris, Quantum Quinn, John Q, Clam, 8 Sage, Mod, Supreme Models, Dark Tater, Joe P, Brian Coffin, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, JD, McDonaldinho, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrum X, Hoot, Matt H, DJ Mickey Hijinks, No Flex, Hilarious, Greg Starry, Seamus, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Norm Dubs, The Parry King Tuccrr, The Home, and of course, T, where the T stands for, hey, please check out my Spotlight Guide. It's linked right below me. I think you'll like it a lot. Everyone who watched it said it was the most useful one because I'm trying to give you the tools to decide what's right for you.